Good.
Might jump into my topic then.
I think that'd be very
yeah, clean versus dirty bulking. So
yep.
we've both experienced this. So I'll just go over the difference first. So clean bulking is basically trying to put on as much lean muscle mass. You're sitting in a calorie surplus, but you're trying to keep fat gain to a minimum.
Yeah.
And then there's dirty, which is trying to eat as much as you can, be in a huge calorie surplus, and putting on loads of excess fat in the process, with the idea that you'll be able to put on more lean muscle mass than if you kept it really lean. So from experience, I've tried that way, and yeah, the hardest thing is actually trying to strip down and then trying to figure out whether it's actually worth going on that cycle of trying to put on as much as possible and then stripping down to lean up so that you can see it all, versus doing what we've done the last sort of 2 years, which is keep it clean and just slowly bring our food up, sitting at a nice, like just above calorie surplus. So we slowly put on weight over a long period of time, but keep things lean. So that's the difference between clean and dirty.
Yeah.
What's your experiences been with it?
I mean, I think you and I
tried both ways.
Definitely tried both ways. I sent that old 2013 photo.
Yeah,
definitely clean and dirty bulk. I've definitely experienced both. I suppose the one benefit of a dirty bulk is the weight on the scales goes up very quickly. You fill out your shirts a little bit more, but in the end result, I find, and this is my personal opinion, is that it ends up being more work for you in the long run as well. You've got more weight to strip off. I have found personally a clean, as it's interpreted, bulk or a calculated bulk being in surplus and making sure you're not having massive blowouts with cheat days or meals, and just putting a bit more science behind it has been far more beneficial. And the other thing too is that you've got less work when the whole cut process begins. But I know you've looked at a few studies as well in relation to it. I'm really looking forward to hearing about that. Yeah,
so the first one is to do with, or the first two are to do with what happens when you increase your body fat. So the first thing that happens is your insulin sensitivity drops, which means you'll be more insulin resistant, which basically means you'll store fat a lot easier.
Yeah, and your ability to store carbs in your muscles is less likely as well. So
it also sort of blunts or not blunts, but suppresses protein synthesis. So the actual muscle building process suppresses that. So that's both because of the excess fat that you're putting on during a dirty bulk. So two things that go will contradict what you're actually trying to do. Is put on lean muscle. And then the second study was based on hormones. So what happens when you put on excess fat? Testosterone levels go down, which is your primary muscle growth hormone that you need to build lean muscle. And then the other one is estrogen levels actually go up, which means your body to store fat actually increases, or your ability to store fat is better. Or when estrogen goes up.
Your deeper meaningfuls with your bros go up as well.
Yeah, exactly. That too. So the first two studies are based on what happens when you put more fat on. So it's affecting your hormones and your insulin, which both put you in a worse position by doing that. And then the last study it's a study specifically on dirty versus clean bulking, and they have 36 case studies, and they separate them. Both groups are all similar body composition, same height, weight, muscle mass, etc. just to start with. They have one group on 3,000 calories, the other on 3,600, which is the dirty bulk group. And then at the end of the study, they compare the both. They both put on the same lean muscle mass, except the 3,600 calorie group has put on huge amounts of excess body fat, which they now have to go and strip down, and in that process possibly losing some lean muscle mass that they've worked so hard for. So that's just based off studies, but then from experience as well, you don't feel good when you've got excess body fat on. It might be harder to be motivated to get into the gym. You sort of lose.
And psychological level. It's nothing good about having to give up your physique, especially when you've been in the cut phase. Regardless of what anyone says, it's all good, I'll just cover up. It definitely has its toll, or takes its toll on a psychological level. I mean, we both dealt with this when we went through our first dieting period as well, and both, blew out pretty quickly on failing to reverse properly because there was no short-term goal in sight, and that was a big one too. But
yeah, I thought that was really cool because the experience I've had goes, okay, I don't want to do that again, and then the studies back up what's actually happened through that experience, which goes, yeah, I'm definitely not, and I definitely wouldn't recommend going that way either. So.
I think in something like watching Jake too, being more calculated, and obviously the knowledge you've got behind you in relation to the cut phase and going through and experiencing that, but how much growth and development that you've been able to experience on taking calculated high carb days or refeed days to being in a surplus and slowly creeping those calories up to let the metabolism adjust, letting training and performance on the gym floor take care of itself, because plain and simple, in a bulk phase, provided that you're improving and you're putting more stress and more load and more volume and more frequency within your muscles and you're performing better, and you complement that with the nutrients that are being provided within reason, in a calorie surplus, it's allowing, because when you're growing naturally, there's only so much muscle that you can put on in a certain amount of time. Whereas people think that will be accelerated through just throwing thousands of calories in for no apparent reason. And I've seen with you, by the clean bulking or the calculated bulking method, has you've been able to hold and maintain a great physique, a lean physique, but pretty much double in size. So and performance, I mean, that speaks for itself. You're stronger than ever. You basically just kicking things out the window as far as what you were doing 12, 18 months ago, tenfold. So I think from me looking at you, and especially from what you've said in your experience, is that your calculated calorie surplus and being smart and strategic about what you do week in, week out, measurements. It's basically the reverse process of how the cut phase works, and just being smart about your options. Watching what the weekends, that's one where it tends to creep up very, very quickly, especially with nights out, alcohol, food binging, especially when you're so used to a certain calorie intake on a daily basis as well. So
absolutely.
a lot of factors come into play.
Yeah, for sure.